Are you trying to figure out how to get things done? Are you trying to look for knowledge that can actually help you do something, be better at what you do? Hi, I'm Joyce Mbaya, founder of ZD, where we provide affordable online courses for Africa. This is the place for you, the ZD podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with amazing people. And the ultimate goal is to help you know more so you can do more. Today on the ZD podcast, we're speaking to Tonee Ndungu, who is the founder and innovation architect behind Kitabu. He's an avid techpreneur with a good number of companies under his belt. Before Kitabu, he also founded nylab.co.ke. And, Tonee is really, really passionate about creating an education application that levels the learning field while changing the dynamic of learning. He's been a speaker at 4 TED Talks. He's the founder of the first tech incubator in Nairobi, and a big believer in intuitive learning. I've known Tonee for a really, really long time, and I'm so excited that I get to have this conversation with him about surviving 2020. So I'm here with Tonee Ndungu, founder and CEO of Kitabu.
Oh my God.
An edtech that's, you should hire me as for PR, an edtech that's transforming Africa.
Changing
that is
the world.
Elevating education.
Whenever I hear people say that stuff, I've done Kitabu 8.5 years now. Mm-hmm. Actually, let me see. 2012, February 22nd is when I registered the company. And the name Kitabu with a Y, because I couldn't register K-I-T-A-B-U.
It says my ZD problems.
Yeah, ZD problems. There you go. You know what I mean? Yeah, because it's Kiswahili, oh God. And then Disney over here come and they just take Hakuna Matata and they make it their own. That's another day's conversation.
I'm telling you.
But
money is good, But
money is good.
Keep going.
Disney type money is
Disney
good.
type money can do such things.
So 2012, so 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This is 2020. So I've done it 8 years. And I've obviously done things on the side that I enjoy doing. I enjoy emceeing. I enjoy... what else did I do? I did team building for a while and training, which you helped me do.
You don't like saying the training.
Training.
I have to say it. Training.
I worked at a radio station.
Yeah, actually, all this.
Yeah, I've done quite a few things. It's still difficult. I don't know how to say it. It's a very interesting dynamic when somebody says, "Hey, you are responsible for changing the way we learn in our schools." That's
much as you say it yourself. But I get it as a founder. I get that we pitch, we will have this big problem we're solving, talk about it, and then you go somewhere and someone introduces you that way and you're like, guy, that's me.
That's me. That whole thing is me.
As if it just came from nowhere.
Who
you're
said
like,
that?
but this is what you've been saying.
Why
this is
are
what
you
you're
lying
promising
about
to the world.
And it's funny because that has taken me into all sorts of places. I mean, I've been to the King and Queen of Belgium's palace, and we sat down and talked about it for an hour when we won the King Bodo Africa Development Prize. I've been to Obama's White House and we talked about this.
That's the thing about you, though. Like, if it's one thing, I'm like, when I grow up, you have been around the world telling your story. You've done it in a very... I feel like you didn't set out... I know you enough to know. Now today your secrets will come out because it's me. I have all your X-Files.
Ladies and gentlemen...
I was an early potential, should I say, semi-co-founder, whatever.
So first of all, you were meant to be my co-founder.
Yes.
Everybody. Let everybody know.
Now it shall be announced to the world that I was there in 2012.
In 2012.
We were in it.
Growth Africa together.
Launching Kitabu.
Coming up with the plan. And it's so ridiculous looking back.
I know.
How what we have now and what we had then was so different.
I still have those decks, Oh,
you do?
Just for kicks, I will open them once in a while and be like, this is so cool. To see the ambition, the vision, the way it has evolved. But there's so many. In fact, I'm like, the problem with doing a podcast with you is we have so many themes we can go into. We can go into co-founding, and maybe we will. Maybe we will. That's an idea.
Let me tell you something.
Because we have stories around attempting to be co-founders and not working, and what we have stories around the pivoting, right? The pivoting and so many fail forward, so many things.
My number 3, I have top 3 failures that I've done in my tech company. Number 1 was being iffy about making a co-founder. Remember, I had the founders fever. That was first founder.
Is that what we finally found a name for?
It's
Founders Fever.
Yeah, because I just come out of the nylab. I'd worked 3 years into doing that, 3-4 years into doing that, and I was exhausted, and I wanted something mine. I didn't want to work with other people. And not because Sam or Bart or Anna or any of those people who helped me put together NILAB were a problem. It's just, it was hard.
It was a space, it's almost like a mental space you're in.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not even aware of it, by the way.
Yeah.
Not obviously. Now you're looking back in hindsight.
True.
You know?
And I want to think, I'm actually pretty sure if you co-founded Kitabu with me and I was over that trauma, in 3 years we'd be millionaires.
You know what? With no shyness, with no arrogance,
millionaires.
I agree. Because I think, and this could be something out there, we even though we didn't pull it off, we have the perfect paper formula for co-founding.
That's for sure.
In the way we work, completely. And the irony is, I've met people over the years who always say that, like you and Tonee. That is called what's called a balanced co-founding.
That's
team.
True.
You should have, it was gonna work. You know, we really work.
Are you busy? For
the
rest of your life, we just do this thing.
We'll come back. I've always been in the background. You see, at least in the general element where we are both in EdTech, we are there.
If
so
you find a connecting point. No, because this podcast.
Tonee is about to curtail me to be his co-founder again in a podcast.
In a podcast.
Look at this.
No, because let me tell you something. Let me tell you why. Because I think, and so this is good advice again for founders and everyone who's listening. Post 2020.
Yeah.
Actually, which is the reason we're doing the podcast. 2020 really showed us what the world can look like when you're unprepared. And no one was prepared for a global pandemic. It doesn't matter how much money your company has.
Doesn't matter how
the airline industry has been wiped
strategy
out.
Was. Potentially in the next 5 years, we think we will be.
What is that thing? At his strategy eats what for breakfast, or what eats strategy for breakfast?
Execution.
Yes, no, it is pandemics eat everything for breakfast.
I have to. That one. I have to. That's a fist bump right there.
Everyone was destroyed. But then what came out of it is. People always say your company is always as strong as your balance sheet or your product or your market reach or whatever. No, your company is only as strong as the mental state of your team.
Excellent.
And the pandemic destroyed many teams, like many founders. I am fortunate that I'm in EdTech. We raised quite a bit of money. We had good partners like Mastercard Foundation, Draper, HS Kaplan, and all these guys. Big shout out to them. But then I can guarantee you, even with that, the fragility of my team, myself, the work we were doing. We took 4 team holidays, calling them strategy meetings, team building.
At least you're honest.
4, we did.
Management retreat. What are those words people use?
Yeah, I just call them save our souls. We needed places to go. Because
save our souls.
Yes, by the time you go to a point where, like you're having a team meeting, you're looking at everyone
but even with the social distancing, hold on, there's a lesson in there. So I'm like, what do you mean you took? How did you take holidays?
No,
this is good.
We went to Sagana and jumped off the place where people jumped that cliff. We were together as a team. So because of course work from home, everybody was at home. So we went to a restaurant. We were there. I think it was a Friday and a Saturday, just overnight.
Wait, backtrack. I want to make this connect really well for guys who are listening. So let's backtrack to why was that important? What was that point where you, because see, this is lessons in leadership as well, right? Like, what was that point where you were like, I need to do this. I need to shift the way I'm interacting with my team. I need to save our soul.
Yeah.
What made you pick up on that and then act on it to decide, I need to do this with my team?
I think CEOs are overglorified. The founder fever, you are a founder, you are this, you are that. Those are overglorified terminologies. We give people so much credit, and I'm not the accountant. I don't know how the money's done. I'm not the products guy. I'm not the content creator. I'm the person who carries the vision and tries to raise the money. The people who execute, the Denises and the Marshalls and the Festes and the Bonis and the Joys and the Sylvias, and those are the humans doing the work on a daily basis.
They're the real heroes.
They're the real heroes. So when I was relating to them, you grow. You either are mature enough to walk out of that founder's thing, which I was not. It took me a while. You get tired of that because it's a very heavy
of everything
weight.
Feeling like it's you, or even perceptually being that way. That's
exactly. And then you become everybody's problem solver, right? And people look at you a certain way. So I got tired of going to events, and then I sit in the back when I'm introduced. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is the guy." I'm like, "No, man, this is not the guy. This is Tonee. He's a guy. Stop overselling this persona thing. I hate that." And when I was looking at my team and having a Zoom call on, because we have a Monday, Thursday call, we were tired of being in the house. We just looked spaced out. We have the information.
Disjointed. You
but
guys are like this.
Because you know the exact thing of when you're working together as a group, you create a dynamic.
Yeah.
We didn't have the dynamic.
I can relate to that because, remember me in the office,
Yeah.
My entire culture and strength with my team was based on that energy. So that also hit us.
Let me
hard.
tell podcasters what the story is. Joyce and I shared an office for how many months?
Oh my gosh, we've done. You know the problem is, I told you this podcast. We've done. We've been in it in this journey. Even if I didn't co-found Kitabu, or rather left at some point, we still walked the journey. Yeah.
So we shared
when
an office
ZD,
for a while.
no, let me give you credit, or let me say it correctly. ZD launched in the Kitabu office. Like,
Boom.
we were in, because when we were getting ready to now, commercialize, we had just finished building the product. That's when we shared an office.
Yeah.
And to give you credit, I think that was really good for us. Like, I think one of the things, it wasn't about the office. It was about the energy.
Hey, 'cause
and being in a space where it had the vibe.
Oh my
and you're
God.
good at that, had
I'm
the
good at
vibe.
that. Yeah.
And yeah, it was a nice place. We were not in some underground garage feeling sorry for ourselves and one because obviously we had no money, none. We were in a gisty office, riding off of the Kitabu glory.
Oh my gosh.
That was good for us. Yeah, and we I remember we learned a lot from each other. So I kind of came back into.
You were always there though, because I'd always be like, what do I do with this thing?
Mm-hmm.
What do I? Abu, this is complicated.
You
even did a strategy.
I did a strategy.
Remember, you did a strategy.
We broke down, which is my
went,
strength,
we
guys.
went to
Execution.
Some place in Karen for 3 days.
Yes,
something like
it wasn't 3 days.
I don't know how long was it.
It was a day.
Okay, cool. It felt like 3 days.
It did.
Because strategy
did
is
a
not my
lot.
thing.
Yes, it's not exactly. That's how I was doing it, guys. It's not Tonee's thing. Tonee's big picture. So we're breaking down what are the activities. It had to be. I remember you looking at me like, gosh, when we came out with that Excel sheet. But that's how people execute. You need to drill down those activities and tasks. So I know I'm doing this one thing,
And
which
then
ties to this thing, which leads to the vision,
Bigger
and
vision.
achieving this
So
thing.
I fortunately got to learn that. I went to Strathmore for a bit. I learned that maybe 2 years ago or something. And now we do a pretty decent job of execution strategy. And I've also gotten an amazing chief operations officer. She's been able to help me put that down. And so I'm looking forward to how this goes. But yeah,
you were saying your team
last
on
year,
Zoom looked spaced out. Let's finish the story.
Guys were really zoned. So I was like, okay, so you know what? We're going to do this. So we went to Sagana, we hung out. People who worked together had never met physically one time.
I get it. We had one person who joined, sorry, just to say.
Yeah.
Joined, was supposed to report to work, and then the lockdown happened. So he joined ZD and was at home having never met people in person. A little bit during the interviews, maybe actually. So he had met, but you know what I mean? He hadn't worked with it.
He was like a spiritual workmate.
Yeah. So everything for him was remote. And finally, a lot of guys met him for the first time in December.
And then you realize how short or tall somebody is. You're like, dude, where's the rest of you? Bro! Oh my God.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying. There are people who might not have interacted.
So we did that, Sagana one, and then we did it. I realized like there was a blimp of enormous energy. And in like 2-3 weeks, it just really peaked. And I was like, gosh, man,
people needed that.
Something.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in there, we did a Mombasa trip. We went to...
look at you.
Yeah, we were fancy. Put everyone in a car. We put everyone in a plane.
I need to attend one of these.
I was like, guys. So we did another strategy meeting at the end of the year. And myself, COO, CTO, went there for like 2 days before the rest of the team came for another 3 days.
Excellent.
And we spent time swimming. I found out my accountant can't swim. I mean, he almost drowned. Bodhi, what's up? Saved his ass.
Tonee, in our culture we call that kuanika. How do you translate that?
No,
hanging people out to dry by sharing their secrets on air.
That's not a secret. That's an experience. It's good. Those are good. Those are what make podcasts. What they are.
True. So basically, you realize that even though people have to be at home, having those moments where people come together is literally the difference between maintaining productivity and just losing, losing people, losing output.
And I think one of the things that startups do is we're glorified pastors, really. We're preachers. We're like, this is the way. Follow me.
Believe in me.
At some point, you have to deliver to your congregation. They have to either feel like, they actually not either. They have to feel they own the vision, but they also have to see the success of the vision and not necessarily the whole thing. They just have to see small. We were on CNN a couple of days ago.
I saw that. Congrats, by the way.
And it was really nice to show them this is what we've done. And it's when somebody else tells you the story that you really appreciate what you've done. But more than that, I mean, we've really struggled in 2020, especially in 2019, the conversation was right about how white founders in Kenya and Africa raise so much more money than black founders. And what we don't recognize and appreciate is that both the white founders and the black founders have African staff members. And those conversations sit down. Because a lot of the times, and I'm learning this as I go, I have a podcast called My African Startup Story. You can't turn against who you are. I was born white. I am from the States. I've come to Kenya, or wherever you're from. I've come to Kenya. I went to that school, and because I went to that school, I have these networks. Coming to Kenya was my choice. Coming to start a business was my choice. These are life decisions I made for myself. And because it stacked up to my favor,
now I'm feeling punished for
now
it.
I'm punished for it, right? And oh man, what can I do? Well, okay, there's some advice. Go and tell the investor, invest in that guy. But then it's them to choose.
It's a personal decision.
It's a personal decision. And there's all the things that have gone around it. And then you're going to get super hate from so many black founders who are not necessarily pissed at you. They're pissed at
they're frustrated
the existence
at
of you. Yeah, the existence
system
of the system.
And
right.
the biases. Yep.
And so when I was looking at that and having that conversation, and we talked about that with my team, and a lot of my team members have friends who work in companies that have white founders or co-founders, and I didn't realize that the frustration has run down to our teams to the point where our teams have a visceral relationship with the staff in those other companies, and it's always, why aren't you guys doing this, or why you guys don't raise money like you guys? You clowns get thrown money for nothing. That kind of visceral conversation breaks relationships.
It does.
And 2020 was excellent to just make sure that explodes in.
I was like, it was it was simmering.
It was simmering.
And then now it was like throwing the dynamite and boom. It's so those underlying tensions.
When you're looking at the grants that were coming out of all organizations, and you're finding, African founding companies are getting $500,000, and then non-African companies are getting $10 million, and they're in the same space. You're like, what? Why? They're doing the same thing, and the blowback is coming. I can see it, and I enjoy seeing it because I know for a fact it's not the white founders or the black founders, it's the investors that need to take the heat. We just need to figure out how to build that relationship. But all of that is to say, 2020 showed us how fragile our relationships with each other are, our relationships without physical touch in an office are, and our relationships with ourselves and our bodies were.
So here's a question, and I ask this in this podcast because there's a practical sense to this. Like, I'll give my own example. That moment when Gava was like, there's a lockdown, people, the way a founder, any of us, chose to respond in that month. Like, how the first decisions you make determine your survival, which I've seen with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Did you freeze, for example? Did you hope? Did you go into hope? And I know some people who had hope as a strategy. It's like I'm guessing after a month everything will be back to normal. So let me just wait and see.
Let's see what happens.
So how did you? So everybody has their own way they responded. For me, you remember immediately it was being it's called what? The practical person I am. Shut down the office. I went into a spreadsheet, looked at cost cutting measures, instant. I'm like, we need to stretch our cash flow. Very practical decisions. I don't even think I had time to feel the emotion or even to it was react quick. So people responded differently. What was you? Where did you fall on the curve? Like, what was your immediate, like, what is your reaction? How did you respond to that moment of, oh my gosh, this has happened. This is what I need to do for my business. What happened?
I've actually never thought of how I felt.
So think back on it. What were you doing that first month? What happened?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Damn. I do not have questions like these in my podcast, just so you know. Wow. Okay, so I'm a guy who works with my hands. Whenever I get frustrated, I'm working with my hands. And we had just joined the MasterCard EdTech Fellowship, 12 organizations in Kenya, including Zaraki and Mshule and Eneza. And we had just come out of Rwanda, maybe, I don't know, even 2 weeks before, or a little bit before. And we had some plans that we're going to execute, and they were giving us $40,000 to execute them. So I was busy hiring content creators to help us create content for Kitabu. And so we were having Friday night 8 p.m. meetings. When lockdown happened.
8 p.m.? So
8
p.m.
8 p.m. 8 p.m. meetings, 8 o'clock at night meetings. And when the lockdown happened, this is going to sound terrible. And I apologize to all our content creators. I love you all. I was happy. I was like, yes! I have your undivided attention.
You're so honest to
me. It's true. Because you're not going to get... we have some... We had Yafesi, Patricia Kihoro, Noel. Like, we have amazing people.
I see your point. By virtue of the circumstances.
Because virtue of the circumstances. And these are people I
all the things
admire.
they are doing, which may be events and a lot of this stuff is not happening.
It's not happening. Junior Shui, like, it's such phenomenal people. So when that was happening, actually, let me just backtrack. When the lockdown started, and everything was shut down. In my mind, these are our dream team. Like, these are the people we are hoping to get. Lockdown happened, and the dream team became the must-have team because these guys were cut off. The entertainment industry cannot survive without entertainment.
Events, yes.
Not events. Without
And
people
physical,
going,
yeah,
physical
yeah.
visits and whatnot. And so it actually got to a point where we had a list of 90 people who had shown interest. And these
That's called you oversubscribed for the content
and we could
creation.
only afford 15. And we didn't even, like, in our minds, we were going to pay them a stipend and then post the event. I mean, post the recordings and the putting out the content. We do revenue share because that's actually what we're going to do. But people were hit so hard. We were like, actually, let's remove the stipend and just do a grant and be like, we were granted this money. For the next 3 months, we're going to grant you money. So we're going to give you X amount for 3 months. You just sort yourself out. Because some people were left like, because you've done work in January, you're expecting to release the work or go for the gig or whatever.
Or get paid. And then companies freeze cash. They're going to work. I was calling it cash preservation mode, which is at the expense of all the
small
underdogs.
people.
Always, right?
Always. So we did that. We lost quite a few content creators, and it's okay because I kept saying to a lot of them, because one of them came to me and said, "Hey, I'm just not in the right mental space to do this," but I didn't want to tell you because I need the money you're giving me for me to survive because I have nothing else. And I was like, what? We'll even keep you for an extra month. If you feel like you could do it extra month, no problem. Now, it doesn't look grand. It's not amazing to lose money like that. But these are people. These are humans.
I was about to say, so for you, remembering to be human, even as you're doing business, that was already one reaction. You are like, I have my plan and my contracts, which was the case, right? Of the way I want to execute this. But I feel like you practiced empathy really well. It was, if I think about what these guys are going through now, this whole structure that I have means nothing if they're suffering.
True.
And their ability to deliver value for you will be impacted, especially on content. You can't have guys trying to do content with that, I call it halfway energy, I don't know what to call it. When they're not really committed to giving that 100%, they are not into it. It's just like, okay, I need the money, so I'll just do it. And that's not the attitude you want.
And life happens.
Life happens. It's not anyone's fault. It's not anyone's fault. So you chose to step up in that way.
Yeah, and
amazing.
One of my colleagues, actually not a colleague, one of the consultants who came to the company to look at our books and our finances and look at the contracts was like, "Hey, these guys were contracted to do this, man. You must follow it up. You must do this. I laughed and I said, "Okay, put it on my desk. I'll get to it." And so they did, it's a Dropbox. They put it on my Dropbox desk. And then one of my team members just went and took them and then just moved them. Because they're like, what is this guy saying? This is nonsense. Put them aside, put them fire. I was like, thank you very much. I see we're in the same zone. No, my team knows we're not going to start being... we're just not those people. Yeah? And that's the value of being... humane with your staff and looking
what did
back,
that do for Kitabu?
That's what I was going to say.
I want us to connect again. I feel like some people might be like, oh, you guys and your kumbaya, be human, the business.
And that's the thing.
So I feel like let's connect it for people to see it works, because I think it did for you. I saw a few things happening, and now I'm actually connecting it in terms of what
you the dots.
I am, because I saw, like I said, I saw the output with the content creators and how that impacted Kitabu and actually helped you survive to it. It turned out to be the best thing. But now I can see why. So maybe finish the story. Because how did this end up being a survival story? How did it end up being a good thing for you in 2020 that you did that?
The thing that I learned is that the most important bottom line for any company, especially a startup, is trust. The currency of trust is hugely important. And what happened after that was a lot of people who were not able to do the work they were supposed to do, or a lot of people who did the work they were supposed to do but waited for money or whatever, ended up saying, you know what, when I was in a bad place, you came through for me, and I'm happy to come through for you. So I have a line of good folk, good celebrity folk who are like,
amazing goodwill.
When Kitabu is ready, I will take a month to just talk about it on my 15,000 followers, 150,000
followers.
Instagram
I'll do whatever I need to do to support you.
Need me to do, because I it's not even the business, it's you, Tonee. It's you, the person that you were in those days. And I look back and I'm like, it wasn't actually very hard to be nice. Just empathize. And looking back at the CNN story, which was brought about by one of these content creators.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
See, right? Again, connecting the dots.
And then now that has gone into the hands of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they're like, you know what? We like what you guys are doing. We must talk. And then we had the conversation, and that made
that's a domino effect. That's quite amazing.
And what I love about it is, because we have not, and we're definitely eager to raise VC funding, but because we haven't done that aggressively because there's been all this goodwill coming from funders, I still own a stupid majority of my company. And a lot of founders can't say that. So
especially 8 years down the line.
Especially 8 years down the line.
The kind of funding you have and all that, yes.
I own plus, I think I'd be more than 70%, more than 65%, go up there. And a lot of people are in there 15%. I own 15% of my company. And I'm like, so who do you work for? Because if you own 15%, you're working for someone.
Again, that could be a whole other podcast.
A whole other
dilution,
podcast.
stories.
Oh my gosh.
So as we wrap up, and oh my gosh, you guys, I should have learned by now not to try and do a 30. I came saying I'll do a 30-minute podcast, 30-minute podcast with Tonee. So let's call this part 1.
Yes.
Yeah, and because I have a meeting right after.
You have
how did I have a meeting after I'm coming to talk to you for a podcast?
Yes, the computer and may I go sit down on the side.
Yes. But I feel like let's wrap up. There's so many little nuggets, and I hope guys are really getting it. I love it. I actually love it. I feel like we've just started the conversation. There's a lot more we'll say.
Yeah.
But for this first part, that's already one key thing. It's despite the pain of the pandemic, despite the struggles, surviving 2020 for you was empathy first.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's
believing and knowing that when you come through for people, it will eventually pay back. It might not be cash in the bank or, but the returns on that are greater. And there's a lesson in there for all of us when we're going through tough times in the way we respond, right? One more thing. So we want to share around surviving 2020.
I think the most important thing, empathy is not currency. I didn't use it as currency. I didn't say, I'm going to be good to you because I want you to be good back to me. That's not how it runs. For me, empathy was something I needed to do for myself as well. I don't know why people don't know this, but being kind, even when the other people are horrible, being kind doesn't save them. It saves you from the darkness, right? Because carrying hate is darkness. That's just, why would you want to do that? Kenya is already in such a tough place. There's so many things that are wrong. But then one of the things that I will always appreciate is that there's a limit of power that is outside of us, but there's a limit of power that is inside of us. And the one that I can control is how I treat you, and how I treat everyone in tech, how I treat everyone in my country, in my company, my family, people I know and people I don't know, strangers, whatnot. And there's a value in that. Here's my parting shot. In the middle of 2020, right next to AdLife, I was driving past, and there was a guy pushing a mkokoteni that was full of metal something. And I saw him from a distance. He was peeing on the side of the wall somewhere. I'm not telling. Anyway, and he couldn't pull it back down. So mkokoteni, you have to balance it, right? So I parked my car.
And you have to find that nice balance that you're able to keep moving with it because it's really heavy.
Yeah. So I parked in front of him. Some lady insulted me. For the life of me, I've never been insulted like that because I stopped in the middle of the road. Came out of the car, rushed to the mkokoteni, which was like 2 meters to 5 meters behind me, jumped up with him, pulled it down, and he said, thanks. I didn't see his face very well because this lady is calling me all sorts of devilish names. And I went to the car, I gestured at her, a very adult gesture, and then I left. About 3 weeks ago, I was at Yaya, and my car has 4 tires because these cars are useless, and a donut, which I don't remember where it went, and I had a flat. And I was just there doing my thing with my wheel. I can fix a flat. I have no problem doing flat. And this guy comes and stands next to me and he says, it's you. And in my head, I'm like, what are you saying? What is this?
Me who?
And he says, Niva, it's you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he reminds me of that. And he was the guy on the mkokoteni. He pushed me away from my car tire. Like, I was like, are we going to fight, bro? Because why are you pushing me away from something? I said, I have to fix this for you. Let me do you that favor and return the gesture. And so I was like, okay, cool. I kept telling him, no, that turns this way and whatnot. But he insisted on doing it. And then I got my wheel back. And then, as Kenyans do, we always look for money. But now with M-Pesa, I have not seen cash in a long time. He said, don't even disrespect me by trying to give me anything back. You don't know what you did for me that day. And so I feel like that's what we all need. That's what we all need. I swear to you, everybody has a story that they're not telling you about.
Especially in 2020. Especially more so.
So I'm starting my podcast again. This, in fact, it's funny. I sent the email yesterday.
Could be, we could share this episode. This episode could be on yours and mine. How about we do that?
This is going to be the first one on mine.
This is such like, it's a Kenyans have this phrase, killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Boom. This is going to be the first one on mine. But then if I've learned anything in 2020 is the real story about any startup, any story, any African startup story, the real thing about 2020 for everyone was we got to see how human we were, and we got to see how powerless we were without each other. So 2021, let's make sure we do something for each other.
Yay. I can't even add anything to that. You see why I love having Tonee on podcasts? There's no work. The deep stuff just comes. And I don't even need to like add anything to that.
I like how your meeting is in 3 minutes.
It is in 3 minutes. I live life on the edge. It's the same way. People who make fun of me because I'm the person who will be on 5% with my phone. And they're like, how in the world? It's called living on the edge.
That's some excitement.
I'm comfortable on that edge. A lot of people are not. But again, entrepreneur, right?
That's what it is.
Yeah. Thanks for this. Guys, part 2 is coming. So this is just part 1.
That's what it is.
Please share comments actually so that I see how I'm circling back to part 2. I have a feeling this will provoke some good conversation.
Oh, really? You think so?
I think so.
I love it.
Thank you, Tonee.
Thank you, Joyce.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like and share. Comment, get involved, let us know what you think, what you want to learn next, and join us next time.